the new one will be up there.
There
Yeah,
we
it'll
go.
come back
We're
up.
back on. We're back on, guys.
Okay.
We're back on. Go for it. Sorry about that, guys. Light, you was talking. Apologies about that.
No problem. Well, okay, so I was saying that I don't remember where I stopped exactly, but I was basically saying that I'm not really that happy about the way that Gil is communicating with Miller, because I don't think that he's being genuine and real with her. I think, his jokes are really making fun of her and taking jabs at her. And, he says that it's banter, but, banter is really kind of, it's not the same, when you can feel the intent, right? So aside from being passive aggressive, I kind of, I'm just going to just be real about it. I think when a person is passive aggressive, and I've been there too, so it's kind of weak. That means that you can't face what it is that you're feeling, and you can't face having a difficult conversation. And I think that that is the case with Gil, that he does not want to have this difficult conversation with this woman. I think she would probably respect him a little bit more if he had the difficult conversation. If he came out and said, "Look, enough is enough," or this is what I'm feeling. I don't like it. Have a better, have some sort of a conversation other than joking it off. He's calling her princess. That does not feel like, oh, this is my princess and I want to make her happy and I want to elevate her. That sounds like somebody said this, I'm going to use the exact term, and it's right. You are a spoiled brat. That's what the word princess can, the connotation that could bring, right? So why is he just not saying those things? So the speculation is that he wants to just sort of, they are in this process. I think they both are not attracted to each other, that they want to, play it out until the end of the process because they don't really have a choice, or not much of one. But, while they're in it, I think that they almost kind of both have given up. So, I think that even that conversation would have been better. I don't think that we're going to make it to the end as a couple, but you know what? Let's identify that now. And then let's have fun and try to build a friendship while we're here. We're both going through it together. Why don't they do that? Why doesn't somebody do that? But it's more on him than it is on her, because she's just trying to be herself. No matter what we think of her, she is just trying to be who she is, and she's just trying to be real. And he is not. And that is why, I go back and forth with him, but why, I'm moving really away from him, because if he's, just holding on to try to, like David was saying before, if he's trying to hold on because of he thinks he might be able to get some sex before the end of the process, that would be unkind. You already know that you are not going to be with this woman, as she's not going to be your wife. Why are you doing that? That would make me not think well of him at all. That you're just placating her until you can get sex. As for the ultimatum, I kind of understand where he was coming from. If we get to the end of this process and we haven't established some sort of a physical chemistry and connection, then there's no reason for us to proceed. I think that is what his point was, but it really kind of came out like, you have a deadline to keep me. That is what it felt like to me. And then I also think about what happened with Karen and Miles. And I remember, Kojo, you were so on her during that season. And, it's a similar thing. But what Miles did was, when he got to the end, he said, I really think that there's something here and I want to see what's going to happen. And I think when I was on her really bad about how, she was just, why was she bothering? I think that kind of was like the catalyst for her to say, you know what, he's really interested in me. He's really, the sex was not so important that he tossed me aside, that he's going to be the person that's going to stick it out with me. That is the mistake that Gil is making now. He's not saying, I'm going to, we're going to see, I don't know, if he was still saying, I'll have to see where we are in our process by the time we get to decision day, then maybe, I might have to walk away. He's like, nope, that's your deadline. He's not really communicating any of this well, but mostly because he is making fun of her. I don't like that. As much as she's not everybody's cup of tea, don't make fun of her to her face and act like you think that she doesn't know. That's not nice. And she probably knows. She knows she's not attracted to him. But I think she also knows that he's not liking her that much. So they're just trying to get through it. But I'm moving, I keep going back and forth, but I'm moving more towards Merla, because Merla, as much as we have issues with her personality, she is being as real as she can be. She is just being who she is, and okay, you get on board or you don't. As for the finances, whether or not they, know each other's finances, I think she's being transparent too. I mean, somebody said in the comments, I thought was funny, that she might have like an actual house someplace, and this might be like her, in the city apartment or something that she goes to for work, and maybe that's why it was, because I was surprised too that she had, a very modest home. I thought she would have had a more luxurious home, but maybe she does. But in any case, she is real about who she is, and he's not. It's just that much. And if he's a person, I had the speculation that maybe he was well off as well, because he's a person that's not motivated by money. But if he is building his life, let's say, for example, he's building his life the way Jose has built his life. He has prepared for a wife and a family, and now he's ready. And Gil may be in that same, mindset, but maybe he's just not stating it as obviously as Jose. Maybe he's more he's more, humble about what he's doing. He's not going to share it. He's more private. In any case, he is not being real. No matter what he's doing, it's all covert, and it's all, backhanded. And Merla's got my support at this point, because she's just like, I'm just me. Here I am. Take me or leave me. That's how every woman should be. This is who I am. You like me? Great, let's go do something. You don't like me? You are welcome to leave my space. No animosity. But there's going to be animosity if you're trying to make fun of me to my face and think I don't know. And that's my basic feeling about that.
Okay, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. All right, cool. We're gonna move into the last one. I know everyone's been waiting for this particular couple, isn't it? They've been waiting for the hurricane talks with Zach and Michaela. I think it was quite an interesting conversation that they had with Dr. Cow. I actually didn't agree with Dr. Cow. I'm gonna be honest with you. The way he handled their conversation, I didn't. But it's just maybe because I'm foreseeing rather than actually dealing with that immediate problem that you had at that moment in time, right? I think definitely Zach definitely made a mistake, not fully communicating. I'm gonna play a clip for you guys in a second from Reddit, where he was talking on Unfiltered. But I definitely felt like the way he dealt with it was problematic. Zach just creeping out at the time and not really communicating what were you hoping to achieve. You know what I mean? Like a simple text. You telling me you can't do that? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's a little bit some way. But her reaction, I wasn't even concerned about the immediate reaction. I was concerned about the fact she walked out, not even about the walking out. I was concerned because she already had said in an earlier conversation with him, I wouldn't walk out. That's not what I wouldn't do, because I know that is emotionally abusive. And the very thing you said was emotionally abusive, you went ahead and did what? Walked out on a and the thing wasn't even that tough for you to walk out. My thing with Michaela is she knows what's right and does what's wrong. Because the very same conversation she had with the parents and said, oh, I don't do this, I don't raise my voice, da 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 da, and we're about to see you raising your voice and all those very things you told the parents you wouldn't do. She knows what's right and does what's wrong. Which is why, and maybe Dr. Kyle wouldn't have known this, when I looked at Dr. Kyle when he was speaking to him about the whole situation, when he was saying about how when, she was giving him the screw eye and he tried to get close to put his hand on her leg and then she started laughing. Now, some people might say she was nervous. Maybe she was nervous. Okay, maybe she was nervous. I'm going to take it as this. I think there's a broken girl there, and that girl knows how to take advantage. That's my honest sentiment and thought. And I don't want to look at her as a bad person. I don't want to look at her as that. But when people are broken, they do things to them that are normal, that are actually abnormal to other people, right? In that moment when he came over, he put his hand on her leg and she was there laughing, and I was like, baby. And she was intentionally giving him that screw eye when Pascal already said, explain the screw eye, and she did it 3 times. And I said, that's intentional. I said, bro, you gonna die an early death if you stay with this girl in its current state. You're gonna die an early death. I'm saying that because she hasn't. I'm tired of saying it, but when the person hasn't healed, he cannot save her. No amount of love, care, and affection is going to save the girl who doesn't want to be saved. So let me open it up to the panelists to hear what you guys' thoughts are. Let me start strong because I know Sean gonna have some strong opinions on this. Sean, you wanna come through with a hurricane?
Sure. So listen, we got Hurricane K meets Hurricane Ida, and I don't know which one is worse right now because, I'm starting to see the emotional unraveling of her. And, I was glad that we got to the bottom of it, but it doesn't excuse it. And that's my problem, right? The issues that she has with her father and his passing, although I have nothing but empathy and sympathy for that. I lost my dad at 16 years old, and it's something that I forever will live with, right? But it does not excuse my behavior. And if I am to react angrily and aggressively towards anyone, especially my spouse, that is not an excuse for that. So I need to get that together, and I need to have full control of the things that have taken place to me before I enter into a relationship. And I just can't excuse it away. And I think that's what her family has done. Her family has excused away and continued to create this monster. And it's so funny that they call her a hurricane, because that's exactly, if a hurricane is left to its own vices, it will spin, right? And I don't have a meteorologist background, but if Hurricane Ida started in New Orleans, somehow it landed here in the Northeast on the other side of the country. So when that anger, when that unmanaged passion and emotion is not checked, it will continue to spin out of control. And unfortunately, we're only seeing a preview. And Zach spoke about it. He said it in Unfiltered. He said it in other spaces, that he did have a conversation with her around where he was going and what was going to happen. And he said, too, in his message, stay tuned because there's more to come. So I think we got a lot to look into. And again, I'm not excusing him. Maybe there was a better line of communication. Maybe he could have left her a note. Maybe there was something that could have happened differently or better. But her how she reacted doesn't warrant that. Miscommunications are going to happen in a marriage. They're going to happen. We're two different people. And I'm going to do things that are going to upset you and vice versa. And if every time my reaction is to slam things on the ground, the first night we've not been together and you're just jumping to conclusions, he's trying to explain to you what happened, he's trying to recount what took place, and you're not listening, you're accusing him of lying, you're telling him he wants to do what he wants to do. It's like you've created a whole story. And I think that's what happens too often in arguments on both sides. We have a point, we're upset, we're angry, and then we paint a picture, we create a narrative, and we run with it. And we don't give the person room to explain. But the damage was already done. She had already packed up her bags and defended it by saying, well, if you do this, this is why I did that. And you never get anywhere. You never get to a resolve, which is what I think she wants, but you don't get to that resolve. If I pull out a gun, you pull out a gun, we either both going to die or one of us is going to die. It's not going to be pretty. Somebody has to disarm. And that's what I think. And unfortunately, I don't know if Zach is equipped to disarm her.
That boy gonna die an early death. But let me play the clip. It's unfiltered, as you were saying. I actually let me put it here so you guys can have a quick watch. Let's listen to this.
You lie.
Absolutely not. The night before, I tell her I'm taking my dog to the daycare. She knew that. She knew it was gonna be in the morning. I did not tell her what time. Mm-hmm. At the same dinner we're having, she says, don't ever wake me up. She was very adamant about it. Don't you ever wake me up. So much so I was like scared. So, this is a fact. And so when I fell asleep in my room, I woke up at 7 a.m. I left to take her to the daycare. And then I guess she woke up an hour later, and then she packed up and moved out of the apartment. That's what happened there. It's really that simple. It wasn't to me, still not a big deal, but it was to her.
Well, she said that she tried calling you and you didn't answer her phone call.
She never called me. She texted me, hey, did you take Bella to daycare? I said, yes. This was at like 7:45 a.m. So she was up, and so she knew what I was doing. But then after I said yes, she stopped, we didn't respond again. I thought it was fine. And then when I come back, I find out that she left.
Ray, you can go next.
Look, people not gonna like me in the chat. Foolery. Sean, how much I love me some Zach. Y'all know how much I was riding for Zach. Sean was on Zach's behind from day one. How he didn't like how he was being portrayed. How he lacked emotional intelligence. How he was ha 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 ha. And I fought for me some Zach. Well, guess what? I'm throwing Zach away with the quickness. You all talking about how you want sex, you want intimacy, you want ha 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 ha. She gave the punani quick. I haven't seen you in 8 days because of COVID, and you falling asleep in another room. Hallelujah. What you doing falling asleep in another room? Hakarabashanda. So the dog is better fun than me? The dog is more entertaining than me? You should be in the room knocking my boots. I'm showered. I'm cleaned. I washed my punani. It smells like roses. Why are you falling asleep in the other room? Why are you not with me? Is there a possibility she felt a way about that? How would you guys feel if you came after 7 days and you haven't seen your chickie and you haven't consummated a relationship and she went to bed in another room with her dog? You wouldn't have any problems with that? And then you wake up and she's not there? The double standard. And then when she beats up the Lysol and has an attitude and gets upset, now y'all got something to say. Hurricane K. I don't like this narrative. I haven't seen other shows, so I don't know how they portray the black women in other shows. I don't like this narrative. I don't like this angry black woman narrative. I don't like it. And there's nothing that she's done thus far, maybe it's coming, that has shown her to be a hurricane. She's expressive. She says it like it is. Come on. Foolishness. There's no way. I got 3 brothers. There's no way any of my brothers would be okay waking up. They ain't getting no punani, no nothing, and the chickie ain't there. What? And we together only 8 days? Foolishness. Double standards. I don't want to hear it. Double standards. We'll start there.
Light, you ready to go?
Nah, sis, I'm not with you. I just, the thing about him not, this whole miscommunication, yesterday I didn't know about the unfiltered. I didn't know what he said. And I took her at face value, Michaela at face value, saying that she didn't know where he was. And I was on him. I said, okay, if, I don't think that he was right. So knowing this now, I'm going to say, okay, this miscommunication happened. To me, this whole thing is simply one of those common things that they're going to have to go through. One of those common miscommunications that they're going to have to learn to communicate with one another. That said, the way that Michaela responded is a problem for me. Even if I was to say she was right, he could have come in there and said, I'm gonna leave. She told him not to wake her up. Okay. He could have texted. He said, she knew where I was going, and she didn't text me, or she texted me, or whatever. Even if she had a right to be upset, the way she responded to me is an indication of things to come. I always look at the beginning of relationships and wonder what they're going to look like after, it's been a week, 2 weeks. What is it going to look like in 4 months? What is it going to look like in a year? So I'm looking at how she responded in the house, and also before they met up with Pastor Cal, and while she met up while they met with Pastor Cal. When she was in the house, she was fuming. And for her to get so upset to start slamming things was already unnerving to me, because I didn't think it warranted that. Even if she didn't know where he was, my thought would have been, if it was me in that situation, oh, maybe he went for a run. Maybe he went to get, like lattes or bagels or something. I would probably started making breakfast and been like, okay, he's going to be back in a while. I'm going to look cutesy when he comes back. That would have been my response. Her response to me was not reasonable. and becoming, start banging things around was an escalation. So then we get to them sitting in the room waiting for Pastor Cal. She's now left the house. I don't know. Once again, I said I don't know how she gets from point A to point B with I didn't wake up with my husband, so I'm going to just completely leave, and now we're not even going to try. That's a jump to me that I don't understand. It's not logical. So okay, so now we get to them waiting for Pastor Cal. They've obviously had this issue because now he knows she has left. She was gone all day, so he knows that she's upset, but she's not going to speak to him. She's going to say nothing, and they're just sitting there. Instead of saying, I really want to talk to you about this. So I give her some grace and say, okay, maybe she was waiting for Pastor Cal to come in so that she could unveil her feelings and they could talk it through. But I still don't think that would be the case. I'm going to say maybe, but what I think that she was doing was she was waiting for him to pull this thing out of her, and that is already a form of manipulation all by itself. But okay, so they start talking and they're not agreeing. And then she starts to cuss him out. And I'm like, okay, I believe he was sort of taken aback a little bit by that. I was taken aback a little bit by that. But I really, think about it, and you guys are from New York, I'm from New York. People talk to each other like that. There are people who that is their language. They have those kind of conversations. That wording is not a big deal. I didn't really get the feeling that was the case for Zack. So I believe that he, was surprised by that. And he responded in kind, but I don't think that that's his nature. So while they're talking and she's escalating, my big sis vibe started to kick in because I'm thinking my thought really literally was you should probably get up and move because in a minute she's going to swing. And the reason I think that is because, she was escalating. My theory about her is that she's bipolar because, she goes, no matter what her feeling is, she's happy, it's extreme. If she's sad, it's extreme. If she's angry, it's extreme. And having observed and been in a situation like that with someone, for me, who I consider my little brother, he's actually my godbrother, but his wife was abusive. And I saw the pattern begin with the way it has begun with Kayla, that she gets upset at really tiny things. She gets upset at things that are, can be worked out in a different communication. And she escalates and her emotions start to, become all, rumbled up together. And then you can barely differentiate between them. And she started to, like be physically abusive to him, thinking it was okay because he's a lot bigger than she is. And so that's what I'm thinking when I see the way she's escalating. And then she starts, she reveals that she, is feeling this abandonment issue, which I'm really sympathetic to. I have my parents, so I can't empathize, but I can understand the feeling of abandonment. And I understand how much she loves her father and all of that. But it just seemed like another extreme emotion at that particular time. She's going on these roller coasters of emotions, and it just seems to me like if this is how it's going to be after a week, this is her, when she was in the apartment, I failed to say it seems to me she was trying to contain herself, and then it sort of erupted when they were with Pastor Cal. And let me just speak up for Pastor Cal. Pastor Cal didn't see that the communication where she was, cussing him out. So he's responding to them being quiet and not speaking to each other. He didn't respond to the fact that she just cussed him out. But my whole thing is, if this is going to get worse after a few months, she's going to wind up, at the very least, throwing things at him, doing things that are, I'm thinking how these things can, because she just did, right? She just threw the stuff down on the table. You think it's going to be hard for her to throw something across the room?
She threw something at him? She threw something at him? Did I miss that?
No, not yet. But if way she
not
was,
yet.
She
said not yet.
She was in the apartment.
How do you know she's going to throw something light?
Because it's a pattern of behavior. It's a pattern of behavior. If you can't control yourself and you're slamming things down while you're trying to contain yourself, what happens when you lose control? It's a pattern of behavior. And I say this out of experience because I have witnessed it personally, more than one situations, but with this specific situation, it definitely was with a male being abused by his wife, the woman in his life, and it began with this situation. So I think that Kayla really needs some sort of diagnosis. She needs to be, so people need to acknowledge this. The Black community historically have not really sought out therapy. And I think that we sort of try to contain it within the family and handle it. If Kayla's being handled all the time and people are just trying to, keep her from exploding, that's a problem. That means they're not facing the problem. That means she's not getting the help that she needs. And now she's married to a guy who we have all agreed is a very sensitive person. It's going to be hard for him. It's not going to work.
I'm with you.
Go ahead, Ray. I want to hear what you have to say.
Honestly, I have nothing to say on this because I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychiatrist, and I'm not a psychologist. So I'm not going to throw out words like bipolar, narcissist. I don't know these people. I'm only seeing what production shows me and what I see the edits. And based on the edits that I see, but I've said this before, so maybe it's just me coming up from Brooklyn, East New York, I grew up between the projects and the sewer. So, I see women and men talk, and I see, even when I go to Dakar, Senegal, I travel all over the world in Africa, and the way women and men talk to each other, I see them speak this way all the time. It's high energy. We
have that similar experience. I'm from
Flatbush. Yes, exactly. It's passionate. So the way Michaela is acting to me, I'm still waiting on the hurricane. But that's my perspective, right? That's based on what I've seen in my life. So right now, my issue is with Zach. I know that's an unpopular opinion, but for me, men want to be the head of the household. Men want to be men. You set the tone. But have a little more respect.
Does Zach look like he's capable of being the head of the household with a woman who is that volatile? We don't.
Does Zach look like he's able to be the head of the household? Period.
I think he can.
No, you listen, Ray. I mean, just give me 2 seconds. Ray, you were all for him. All for him.
I was.
Yes. So now, just in this one instance, because he didn't communicate, he deserves to be disrespected, cursed out, and treated this way. How do we manage this?
I didn't say he deserved.
Okay,
anything.
So
that's not what I said.
How would you have Okay, then if that's not what you said, how would you handle that? Had you been in Michaela's shoes, how would you have?
If Michaela was my little sister, okay, and she called me and she said, "Yeah," I would have said, "Calm down, take a shower, wash your punani, put on some nice clothes, some nice lingerie, and when he gets home, be there with a smile, sit down, and then have a conversation." That's what I would have said. That's what I would have done. But that's me. I come from years of experience. She doesn't come from the same experience. She doesn't come from the same background. How she's behaving is what she knows. That's all I'm saying.
So I mean, to that point, Ray, I think you would have handled it differently, and that's what we're calling out. We're calling out Zach's. We're not saying Zach was right for how things played out, but we're calling out Michaela's behavior because of what she did not equal what happened to her, and there was a better way to handle the situation, and that's what we're saying.
I understand that point. I get that point. But again, okay, let me say this. In the court of law, there's something called but if, right? Sometimes lawyers, judges, this is how they decide how things go. There's a but and an if. But if this didn't happen, this wouldn't be the case. Okay, I'm going to tell you guys a story. I was about 20 years old and I was dating a guy and we had just been intimate and he was taking a shower and I was cooking for him and I had on lingerie and there was a knock at the door. And I opened the door. There was a woman out there with 4 of her children, 10, 8, 6, 2, let's say. And she was there with a bat, okay? And she proceeded to come into the house and beat me up with a bat and tell me that I was sleeping with her man. All right. All I remember 5 minutes later was there was an ambulance, there was blood everywhere, and I was arrested in a cop car. I was 20 years old. She was 40, and the dude I was dating at the time was 40. Okay. And the judge said to me when I went to court, The judge said to me, what they did to you, what happened to you, yes, it was self-defense. Yes, it was tough. Yes, what they did was incorrect.
What?
But your anger, but he said to me, and this is why I'm telling you the story. He said to me, but your anger, the way, he said it was in self-defense, but the way you responded, maybe I beat up children too with the bat, I don't know, but everyone was highly affected. Everyone was in the ambulance. And I just blacked out and flight, I fought. Because there's no way you're going to step into a house and have a bat and try to beat me up with your 4 kids and think I'm not going to fight back. So ended up happening where I ended up hurting everyone. And the judge was like, I do agree that you defended yourself, but the level in which you did it, you need anger management, right? So that was a changing of my life. But not everyone has that experience where they go through anger management. Sometimes you have to go through life to figure things out, but it doesn't make you abusive or narcissistic. This is a TV show. This is editing. This is just based on what we see. And as I've always said, with Alexia, with Vernisha, we have to show more grace. And we as men and women in the Black community, we need to create more safe spaces for one another. There's no way you're leaving the house, you saying you're talking to her, then you have this whole, this nonchalant attitude around it, like you didn't do anything wrong. You know how much I love Zach Kojo. You know how much I love Zach Sean. But that behavior is unacceptable. I'm sorry. And I'm not saying her behavior is acceptable too, but I'm not going to put all my focus on her and not put the same heavy focus on Zach even more. But if he didn't do that, we wouldn't be here right now.
Okay,
that's what I'm coming from.
I can't agree with that, because that "but if" is a lot of the type of excuses that people use for abuse. If she hadn't, cooked the wrong meal that I didn't want, I wouldn't have had to smack her. That is what I hear about from a what, but, or if. But okay, let's use that, right?
Yeah, I think that's a bit extreme. I don't think you understand what I'm saying. But go ahead, that's okay.
I mean, if he didn't do that, then she wouldn't have reacted like that. She is responsible for her own reaction and her responses. But let me give you this. But what if? If Kayla had spoken to him and said, I want to talk to you about something. I'm not happy about what happened this morning. I think we need to have a conversation. Then he would be aware that what he did bothered her. That's the but if that I'm considering. If she had responded or brought the subject up with a more tempered response, more controlled response, and been able to communicate effectively, they would have ended the morning having resolved something and maybe having grown closer. But what she did was she responded with heightened emotion that did not fit what he did wrong. If he did something wrong, because the assumption based on the show and the editing or whatever is that she didn't know where he was. Even if that was the case, that's the kind of thing that you expect to have happen. Those are the kind of misunderstandings you expect to have happen in a marriage, especially with two people that had not had any kind of relationship before that. He just didn't know. He's a little clueless. It was a little thoughtless if that's the way it went, but it didn't warrant all of what she did. And for me, it's only been 10 days. Those things escalate. So that but if can go either way. But if he didn't behave himself, if he didn't do what I didn't want him to do, but that means that I have the right to act volatilely and make a scene and go, like way off the charts. And the next step for me is a hit, because I've had those experiences too. I'm 53 years old. I'm from the same place you are. I've had people in my life that have experienced that. I've had people try to hit me. That didn't work out, but that has been my experience, is that there's always the excuse that if the other person didn't do it, I wouldn't have lost my temper. But you lost your temper. That was your temper is yours to control. No matter what is happening around you, you are the person that has this off switch on your temper.
Miss Light, I have a question for you. What percentage of women do you think have control of their emotions? What percentage of women? Let's be real here.
I think I'm not talking about in general emotions.
What percentage of women have control aged 30 have control, emotional intelligence when they get upset in a relationship. What percentage of women at age 30 have the same self-awareness that you have at 53?
I have no idea, because when I was 30, I was messed up. I'm going to admit.
Me too.
I wasn't a hurricane, but I have confessed on this show, and I don't know if it was this show, maybe it was Maria's show. When I was in my 20s, I had men in my life tell me literally that I was guarded. I can't believe I'm saying this again. I never tell people this stuff. I was guarded, I was cold, I was insensitive, I was unfeeling. These are the responses I got from men in my life, wonderful men who were trying to love me. So I'm not speaking from, not understanding where she is at that age. But I'm saying that there is a difference between the way that, the way a general person that just has, they don't know how to control their emotions, and somebody whose emotions are so erratic and so heightened and so off the charts. Her pendulum swings from one end to the other so fast. And I admit that there could be editing. We're only looking at an hour, and this is probably like a week of stuff. I get that. But it just seems, if there was not something to be captured on camera, then I wouldn't be making that claim. But my speculation, and I admit it's a speculation, I hope that I'm projecting. I hope I'm reaching. I hope I'm being ridiculous. I hope that I'm completely wrong. I apologize to her if I am. But the pattern that I see, the example I gave was not the only example that I've ever seen in my life of somebody who, when they start the relationship that way, it escalates over time. And I think that that's what's going to happen. I love you. Thank you so much for your opinion and your perspective. You just remind me of people that I grew up with in my family, and I just love
we you. Sisters, like you said, you from Flatbush. We sisters, yo. I went to Brooklyn Tech, so I know we sisters. You from Flatbush? I'm from East New York. I went to Brooklyn Tech.
I'm telling you, people are wondering. This is what New York feels like. You just drag, because I'm in California now, but y'all got me back in New York right now.
Well, listen, I love Ray.
I love you,
Light.
I love you.
Light, but this is not a wholly representative of New York. I am in New York, born and bred in New York. Well, not born in New York, but lived in New York all my life. What I would say is, I get that we all have our own personal experiences, but we need to call wrong out when it's wrong. And if the shoe was on the other foot and Zach behaved that way because of something Michaela did, we would be calling Zach abusive. We would be saying there's some serious problems. Similar to what you said, Light, we would be saying like, oh shucks, he's throwing things on the floor. What's next? And you said it when you called out Michaela's behavior. So I think, Ray, you talk about double standards. We can't have that double standard and say, oh, a woman doesn't have control over her emotions. So we are minimizing women. We are not doing that.
No.
Women are strong. Women have
of course.
So what I'm saying is, don't put that into the conversation, because women have the ability to do anything they want to do. That's Michaela did not want to do a better outcome. She made a different choice. And that was not the right choice, because it did not match what took place to her. And you yourself, Ray, you said if you had witnessed your sister doing the same thing or in the same situation, you would advise her to do something different. That's what we are saying and what we are calling out, irrespective of anything else. Her behavior was out of control and gave us signal that there's more to come. And she and her family self-described her as Hurricane K. I didn't make it up. Production didn't make it up. Her family called her that. And now we're starting to see it. So that's what I'm saying, is we just got to call it out. And again,
do you think it's a possibility that another family member from another castmate, that they could have said that they were Hurricane, but they just didn't show that? They didn't put that in the show. Do you think that's a possibility?
I mean, well, if the sun was blue, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Michaela. So let's just stick to the facts of Michaela and Zach and what took place.
This is
now,
my
are
point.
you scared, or did you?
This
fall
is my
out?
point. My camera's always falling. Me and my camera. I'm a mess with my camera. I need to invest more money. I need to spend more money showing on the camera.
I need looking good in the camera. You looking good, Ray?
This is my phone, and my setup is a mess. But no, I'm not excusing this is my issue. And I went back because there was a panel that I was watching with Sean, with Kojo, excuse me, Sean, and they were talking about a castmate named Renisha, and they were just going in on Renisha. So I had to go back and look at it and see what was happening. And I just feel like, throwing out words like abusive. We're not therapists. We're not, I might say this is a deal breaker, but abusive, I'm going to stay clear of those kinds of words. And what I will say is, yes, I wouldn't behave that way. But just because I wouldn't behave that way doesn't mean, and that's what I've learned with age, just because I don't behave that way doesn't mean that person is not going to behave that way. And I'm not going to judge that person. That might not be the way I would have behaved it. That might mess up her relationship with Zach. But I'm going to go to the base. And I'm not going to say that just because Zach was mean, that he deserves to be beat up. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is there's a cause and there's an effect. And yes, how you respond to things, how you react, of course, you have to take responsibility for that. I would never respond that way. I would never react that way. But when I was in my 20s, I reacted in some dumb ways. Not like that, but in some real dumb ways. And I was in my 30s, some dumb ways. I behaved and reacted. So I get it. And you're emotional. You just had sex with this guy. You're married. Things are heightened. You haven't seen him. I get it. I'm not excusing it, but I get it. And I just wish we would spend more time on Zach because we're spending a lot of time on Michaela. That's all I'm saying.
Let me jump in now. I've been waiting to jump in.
Come on,
Ray, I love you. I love you. I do. I love you. I do. But I'm gonna have to call out Michaela, and as I call her out, I'm calling you out. If you think, because if this was what you were doing when you were younger, I've admitted to my dark heart, it's emotionally abusive. I've told you this.
I said I wouldn't have behaved this way when I was younger, but I've done some questionable. I've done some questionable things.
Okay, cool. So if you've never done what she's done, then take yourself out of it. It's emotionally abusive. Standard. Yeah, I don't need to be a therapist. You don't need to be. You don't need to be a therapist to call out emotional abuse. We're not saying she's bipolar and those things are different. They require diagnosis. Emotionally abusive does not require to be diagnosed. We can see that the reaction she had.
Didn't say she's being emotionally abusive. How come Pastor Calvin didn't say that?
He didn't see everything. Okay. So the disproportional reaction to the actual situation is what makes it emotionally abusive in the situation. We had already called this out from the first episode. I told you guys this would happen from the very first episode when we saw it. Number 2, your own family has said you are hurricane. No one else. This is the same thing that happened with Bree from last season. I said the same thing to the girls as well. Why are you questioning what the family say about the person? You don't know them. They do. They've said what the person is. Why are you trying to change the person's narrative? The family have said she is a hurricane, and so therefore I'm going to take what the family said. Why are you trying to change the narrative? Right now what we're doing is projecting to save a black woman, and there's no need. Let her be accountable. What she did was unacceptable. We're not going to be giving this girl a pass. I'm sorry. It cannot be. And what you're doing right now is making mad excuses. There is no excuse. It's that simple. I don't care if your father died. I don't care if your brother died. I don't care if any of that happened. Do you know why? Because your reaction, you have control over it. She would never, if she can't behave like this at work, you can't do this in a relationship. Why is it all of a sudden you don't know how to behave when you're in a relationship? Let's not do that. We're not going to minimize what she's done, right? First of all, listen, I get it. The guy went out, didn't tell you where he's going, whatever, right? Cool. He hasn't told you where he's going. The reaction, first of all, to slam the thing was mad. But that told me a little bit about your emotional control. You don't have good emotional control. All right, cool. Then you pack up your bags and leave. You're already escalating for no reason. You're escalating for a very small reason as to why you're escalating to this proportional thing, right? Now, let me give you an example of what you're talking about, Ray. Let me give you an example of what you're saying. I slap you, you go and grab a bat and slap my head in. It's a disproportional force you're using. I slap you and you go and take a bat now and start whacking me into the ground. Trust and believe it won't be called self-defense at that moment. Trust and believe it won't be called self-defense at that moment because it's a disproportional reaction to the force that was given in the first place. Now, after that, what happened after that is where I said it's really crazy because when she was sitting on the couch, she knew, and this is what I'm saying to you, it's very intentional. Look, women like her, men like her, when they are broken, don't think they don't know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. In that moment, she had absolutely all control, right? In terms of what she's doing. She decided not to have control. That is the point. And she chose an action in those moments. Even when Pascal was talking and saying, and he was trying to get close to say, like, I've, it is what it is, whatever. And I said it earlier on. And then she was smiling in his face. And I said to myself, bro, if you don't run from this girl now, this is what she's going to do to you the whole entire time. We, as human beings, have to set boundaries to tell people how we're going to be treated, right? If he stays in this relationship, it will be emotionally abusive because you'll continue to do this behavior because you can get away with it, right? Now, Ray, you've spoken all night about double standards.
Mm-hmm.
You've spoken all night about double standards.
I'm just not going to call someone emotionally abusive. I'm sorry, Kojo. I'm not doing it. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not calling someone emotionally abusive. I'm not calling someone bipolar, narcissist. I'm sorry. That'll be my minimum.
I'm not asking you to call it bipolar.
I'm not doing it.
But
I'm not calling someone abusive. I'm not calling someone abusive. I'm not doing it. Nope.
Okay. You don't have to call it abusive.
So,
whatever you want to call it.
And trust me, Pastor Cal, he sees editing production shows. Pastor Cal, they call up, they have meetings, they have discussions. She beat up the Lysol today. He knows everything that's going down. Okay, and he did not call her on being emotionally abusive, and he's the expert. That's all I'm gonna say. All right, so I'm not gonna sit here and make I know that's what you're doing, but I'm not gonna have make it seem like I'm out here defending somebody who's being abusive and beating up people. That's not what's happening here.
You didn't mind throwing dirt on Ryan. On Ryan, you didn't mind. You were happy to slapdash quick.
Sure,
you were happy to. See, this is what I'm trying to say. You can't hold that line because you're not consistent with it, Ray. You see, when it's a black woman, you're trying to defend her and throw any method of trying to escape. It's emotionally abusive. That's what it is. When something's a disproportional reaction, the way you are emotionally dealing with a situation, it becomes emotionally abusive when you use manipulation. I can happily call dark arts emotional manipulation because that is what it is. And you become emotionally abusive in your behaviors. That is all it is. You don't have to make it a big thing because we're not condemning her to death.
I'm not saying we're condemning her to death, and I'm not saying what she did was correct. But I'm not going to say she's abusive.
Zach, you're doing what men do, right? What a lot of us men do, right? When we're trying to deflect from the actual issue. The issue wasn't about Zach. The issue was about her behavior and going way too far. But you wanted to go, but we need to talk about Zach. No, we need to talk about her. Because she's the one who's doing the behaviors.
We need to talk about them both.
But we already spoke about the fact that he was wrong. Well, it's even if we speak about it equally, the weight of who's doing what is wrong is what we're talking about here.
I just feel it's a lot of heat on Michaela. I'm not saying that what she did was correct. And I don't believe that my stances have been inconsistent. That can be your belief, but I'm very clear in my stances and I'm very consistent on my stances. And I will shift and move and say, I'm with Zach and then he'll do something. I'm with Gail and then he'll do something and I'll shift. And I'm willing to admit to that. However, I'm very consistent. I'm not saying that Michaela is perfect. I'm not saying that what she did wasn't inappropriate. I'm not saying that I wouldn't give her this, the same pushback if I was her bigger sister. But Zach and Michaela, and I'm sorry, Kojo, I disagree.
You're doing it again.
If you slap me, I will get a bat and beat you down. Sorry.
You're blaming for Michaela's response. We all agree that, if it happens the way
I'm not blaming Zach for Michaela's response. I'm not blaming Zach for Michaela's response.
If it wasn't for what he did, she wouldn't have reacted in that way.
What I'm saying is there's a base, there's an experience, and there's a reaction. I'm not saying her reaction wasn't over the top. I'm not saying her reaction wasn't perfect. I'm not saying her reaction wasn't emotionally inept or immature. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that she just didn't react out of nothing. She just didn't have anything out of nothing.
But
we agree. That's what I'm saying. We agree on that. What we disagree on is the disproportionate response to what happened. He was wrong. Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4. We've all agreed to that. If it happened the way that we thought it did, what we're disagreeing on is her disproportionate response to that pretty normal miscommunication. It wasn't right. It was a miscommunication. The way she responded was way, way, way out of proportion with the miscommunication. That's what I'm saying. I believe that that's what Kojo was saying as well.
I think that is what you guys are saying, and I disagree with that. That's all I'm saying. So Kojo made a great point. If you got slapped and then somebody came and beat you down with a bat, that's inappropriate. I disagree. Put your hands on me. How I respond is how I respond. Put your hands on me is how I respond. So
In
it's
my
all
view,
relative.
Even
It's
if you do
all
respond like
relative.
that,
And
what would
people have
happen?
different experience. I told you what happened, what the judge said to me. I told you what happened. You go through anger management, and that's what happened. But they also had
You
a
were
fault
lucky.
too.
That's
They
the
also,
point. You're lucky.
I wasn't lucky. They also had a fault too. You came to the house with a bat to beat me up. Now I beat up you and your children. Everybody's in the ambulance. Everybody's
oh my gosh.
bleeding. So what you want? Like, I don't get it. I'm
Okay,
not saying
this
that.
is
I'm
the
not
thing.
saying that she's not irresponsible. I'm not saying that what she did wasn't wrong. But what I'm not going to say is she's abusive, because I don't know that. This is TV. I don't know.
If a
So
person is required to have anger management, that means that there was a disproportionate response, right? You said yourself that the judge said to you that if you didn't respond in that way, it would have been considered self-defense.
It still
You,
was self-defense. No. The
you
judge. No. Let's get this clear, because this is my
okay.
story, right? The
Mhm.
judge said that it was self-defense. He did say that, and that's why I didn't go to jail. But he said, because I blacked out and because of what happened, that it was best that I went into anger management. You know what anger management taught me? They taught me how to fight. They taught me how to breathe. They taught me how to relax. They taught me all self-defense. They taught me how to beat up someone properly. I learned all kinds of things in anger management. So, come on.
But in this instance with Kayla, her response was her not being able to control her anger, right?
Okay.
It kept
Yes.
coming out of her in ways that were not proportionate to the miscommunication. She was trying to hold on to her anger when she slammed down the cleaning thing or whatever.
That's
She
right.
was trying to contain herself, and she was barely able to do it. And the only reason I believe that she was able to do it when they were waiting for Pastor Cal is because they were waiting for Pastor Cal. They were in a place where she wasn't alone, and she, when she was at the house, she was about to explode. And if he was there when she had that response, how bad would that situation have gotten? And that is my concern for him, is that if she does not have something that will contain her, like waiting for the Pastor Cal, if they were alone, it would have been worse in the house. If he had come back and she was in that moment, it would have been worse. That's all I'm saying. And it is my speculation. I wholly admit that I'm speculating, and I'm, going based on my own experience. So I might be projecting. I could be wrong. I'm hoping I'm wrong, but that's because I've seen it a number of times. That's the pattern that I recognize.
Can I ask a question? One thing before you say something, Sean. Wait, one
Okay.
thing. If Michaela herself said, and this is before she even did the shout and stuff, if I leave the house, right, and I don't text you, I don't call you, I don't pick up your phone calls, and that's emotionally abusive. She said that her own self. Would you agree with her statement then?
I honestly, if I'm honest with you right now, Kojo, I'm totally like blacking out, because I'm not going to sit here on a panel and call someone emotionally abusive from a TV show. I'm just not
I
going
didn't
to
say
do
that.
it.
I said she
I'm
said
not
that.
doing it.
No, you don't
No,
say
I
it.
said,
She
I
said
said,
that.
I can't even hear your question, Kojo, because I'm still focusing on the past, how you're saying that I'm defending Black women and I'm not taking responsibility for Black women. I'm inconsistent with my points. Like, really? Like, that's just not selling well with me, if I'm being really honest and keeping it real on the panel. So
That's not what I heard.
I'm not here defending Black women, saying Black women don't do anything wrong. That's not what I'm saying. She was wrong.
You said that.
So was Zack. They both were wrong. That's all I'm saying.
No, but
and I just feel like a lot of there's more heat on Michaela.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying. And
Yes.
if you guys want to put more heat on Michaela, that's fine. But I should be okay too, having the right to not put so much heat on Michaela. Can I have that perspective too? That's why I'm on this panel. No?
We appreciate that perspective. We appreciate.
Are you sure? Are y'all sure? Because I'm feeling like my perspective is not being accepted here.
No.
I'm not accepting it. I'm not accepting it because I'm asking
Well, there you go. So there you go. There you go.
I'm accepting that your perspective comes from your experiences.
All our perspectives come from our experiences.
Yeah, mine does as well. So
exactly,
I'm understanding where you're coming from and why you say that. I don't agree, And I think that, the whole panel, we are, really agreeing to agree on a lot of different things. That's the whole point of the panel. I don't want to speak for Kojo, but the whole point of the panel is to have these different perspectives. And it's a funny thing. I love this because we're all from the same place, but we have different perspectives. And it really just shows that people cannot be fit into one box. We are not interchangeable. We all have these different, understandings of life, even though we're from you and I are from, neighboring neighborhoods, and we're very different. But I'm respecting that because I know that was your life, and that what you're seeing is actually through that filter. So I don't want to take that away from you. I'm not trying to judge you in any way. I just don't agree with you. And I think that's
okay. And we can, and this is what I like. This is what I like about the banter with Sean. It's because we can disagree and we can respectfully disagree. But I'm never gonna say to Sean, you protect. Oh, you not. That's abuse. No, he has his opinion. I have my opinion. Our opinions differ, and that's it. But I'm not gonna sit here on the panel and be felt like I'm taking up for Black women. I take responsibility and not calling out emotional abuse. I'm not down with that.
So
true, like real talk.
Ray, it's me and you, right? So can we just at this point, because we're and the funny part is we are saying the same thing. We're saying the same thing. You are seeing the wrong in Michaela's behavior. What you're seeing is a disproportionate amount of focus on Michaela versus Zach. But we have a disproportionate focus on Michaela because her actions were extremely jarring, triggering, whatever you want to call the word, right? So that's why we're honing in. But we did hold Zach accountable.
To you, right. To you and to Kojo and to her, but not
of course.
Me.
Anytime we speak, but I'm just saying, anytime we speak from us. When you speak from you. So what I'm saying is collectively, 3 out of 4 of us tonight on this panel are seeing that Michaela's actions were disproportionate to what Zach did. All right?
That's right.
Everything else in between, you even say that Michaela behaved in a way that you would not have done.
That's
however
right.
you so let's just leave it where it is. It's not personal. I don't think it's a personal attack on you, and none of us are intending to do that. I just think we are calling out the same behavior, just choosing to go about it in a different way. Is that fair?
Sure.
Okay.
No, because Kojo was clear. Kojo said no.
Well, I think that's something.
So maybe you feel that way, but Kojo don't feel that way because Kojo is think that, and I'm not having it.
You and Kojo can have that conversation.
I'm not having it because I've been very consistent, and what I'm not going to do is be told, that's ridiculous. No. Just because I don't want to call her emotionally abusive, I'm defending her and I'm defending all Black women. Come on.
Yeah,
that's
let's
not
save
cool.
that for the after dark.
That's not cool because I'm not happy. That's not cool.
Okay, we'll come on after. Sean, do you want to give us the benediction and
Hurricane Ida, Hurricane Kay, and now
y'all might as well call
Ray.
Hurricane Ray. That's right.
That's what I said.
Take Hurricane K out. You think K is a hurricane? Deal with me, please.
We see it.
Come on now. Y'all don't know what a hurricane is.
Listen, Ray, it's all love.
Man, it's love,
and if there's anything that we have learned, and in being on this panel together, and you and I started at the same time, it's all love. It's all love.
Yeah, I love you. I love you.
Of course, and we all love each other. And Kojo, as this being his platform, he loves. He loves.
And I'll tell you, Ray, I watched from the audience, and I wanted to walk into the eye of the storm of Hurricane Ray. I said I wanted to get on. I was like, me and her, we got to get on there. That's my little sister. We're going to talk. So, I'm coming at it with much respect because I love your passion. I love how deep you are. I love how every time you speak, your whole mannerism is everything is just, you put it all into it. And I just love it. And I'm just, don't even worry.
And you get it because you see, and you're 53, so I'm sure you've seen a lot of things in Flatbush. And I've just seen so much, you know what I mean? And maybe it's because of my experience, it's relative. I've seen women, do some crazy stuff. So, what I'm seeing here with Kay is just, and I get to some people it's a lot. I understand that. But for me, it's a different perspective. That's all. That's it.
Cool. All right.
Okay.
Come on, let's go.
To the wrap up. So I guess when we start off with, let's start with the lightest first. Rachel and Jose, they definitely need some communication and meeting each other in the middle. However, they look like they have the hopes to carry this through, and I'm rooting for them. And I think the main thing with couples going into any situation, it's finding a way to understand and hear each other, right? And hear each other and come up with a plan together. Then when it comes to Brett and Ryan, I'm not sure if there's a spark there, but I would say for Ryan, be open to Brett, hear her, try to be a safe space for her. And when it comes to Brett, please, try to get out of your head a little bit and live in the moment, experience, dig deeper, and don't let your fears block what could be a blessing. Then when it comes to Bao and Johnny, Bao, Boo, we need you to take a shower, baby. We need you to take that shower, and meet Johnny in the middle. And Johnny, you're not an Olympian, so stay out of the Olympics. Don't run. Run to the problems, run to your meet, and run to fix the issues if that's what you want to do. Lastly, Michaela and Zach, we need to heal. And if what we don't heal, it will be revealed. Okay. And that's for both of them. So if there's healing to be done, and it seems like there is, let's get it healed. Back to you, Coach.
Well, guys, it's been an entertaining conversation. I can't lie to you. Listen, man. Listen, we all get passionate on this panel, so it's never any hard feelings around here. Do you get what I'm saying? So please, listen, guys. Look, yeah. Make sure you enjoy your night. Okay. Make sure you stay safe out on them streets because it's hot out there. We appreciate you as well, guys, for tuning in to the show. We'll be back on Saturday for the reunion. But Friday night, I'm going to have a special live for you. You understand? We're going to have a little tell-it-all for Put a Ring on it. So I don't want to say too much. Just tune in on Friday after the reunion. We'll get it popping, baby. You understand? Yeah. Over and out, baby.
Little black, you know what time it is.